What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today was supposed to be an awesome video on wrapping the hood, but me being me and being retarded, I cut something that was not supposed to be cut. So, unfortunately, the hood is going to have to wait. But we've got enough excess material to do our door handles, so that is what's going to be done today instead. So, let's get into removing the door handles. Pretty easy and straightforward. So removing your door handles are really easy. You're going to open the door and find this little plug here. You can basically just take it out with your fingers. Make sure you don't lose that. I just like to stick it in my pocket. And you will see a T25 Torx head screw holding the door handle in place. Just go ahead and unscrew that. While we are unscrewing, I'd just like to say, as unfortunate as it is for me to have ruined the hood wrap, we just gotta keep our good spirits going. Mistakes happen. Not always gonna get things right the first time, so thankfully this is going to be a learning experience for all of us. Now, when you've got the screw all the way unscrewed, just know that this screw is not going to come out. I've tested it a million times with magnets and pliers. Like it's set in there. So once it's done unscrewing, it'll just unscrew and sit right there. So you don't have to worry about it falling inside the door. Now, once you've got that, go ahead and close the door. I just like to open it a little bit, like once open, and let that kind of like slam in shut. And you should be able to pull this out. This piece will come out just fine. Next, we're going to take the door handle itself and move it towards the rear. The rear. Oh, probably should pull this LED out of the way. The rear, and it'll just swing out. And once it's here, all you got to do is disconnect that little wire there, and your door handle is off. Pretty simple, pretty easy. So let's go inside and wrap this baby. Okay, so we're here and we've got our pieces. The first thing I've been doing is prepping them with a little alcohol on the surface. Make sure that there's no body oils or fingerprints or any contaminants or anything there that's really going to inhibit our ability to do this correctly. So for this final install, the only real tools that we're going to be needing is our little knife and our trusty heat gun, otherwise known as the purple hair dryer. Should be sufficient enough heat for something like this. So like I said, just clean them up with a little bit of alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. I'm using a 70-30 split, 70% alcohol, 30% water, and it should be good. Okay, so what you can see here that I've done is I've just sort of hooked it. Now I'm going to stick my thumb on it and pull the rest of the material, conform it to the handle. And the reason that I've used so much excess material is because you can see from pulling it and stretching it the way that I've done it, it's kind of off-centered and like kinked a little bit, which is fine just because there's no pattern on the material. But I've used a lot of excess material so that when it kinks it doesn't matter, and I've still got coverage all the way around the piece. So just a little thinking ahead there. But now all you really want to do is just kind of level it out. You can use your fingers and just kind of smooth it over the surface. I just like to work really gently here. Push it and pull it and tug it and bop it, pull it, twist it, pass it. So as you can see here, I've got this little wrinkle here that needs to be kind of worked out. So what I'm going to do is take it off camera so you can completely not see at all what I'm doing because I'm so helpful. And all I basically did to get that out was pull the material apart into like a triangle shape and just kind of push it back down. So now it's smooth around that little corner that we just had that issue with. Try and get this a little bit better angled here. Sorry, I'm working with a really shitty camera angle for this. So I'm still just very lightly tugging and pulling here and tucking around these edges. It's the corners that are going to kill you the most. We're doing shapes like this, so I like to kind of get them out of the way as soon as possible. And then you're basically, from here you're pretty much good. All you've got to do is tuck it all the way around these edges here on the sides, and the door handle at that point is pretty much wrapped. So I'll come back after I got these tucked away and show you what we're doing. Okay, so from this point you can see I've got it pretty much wrapped up along these contours. I've pushed in this little line here. I don't know how well you can pick that up, but I pushed this little line here because I'm going to be making my cut along this line, and I pushed it in to make it easier to see where I'm going so I don't actually cut the door handle and, you know, wreck it. But I've gotten to the keyless entry points here, these little rivety touchy thingies that open and unlock the door. So to do that, all I'm going to do is lift the material slightly when I come to one, and using my little super mega squeegee tool, if I can get in here and make this actually sit down the way it's supposed to, I'm just going to push the material up to this little line here in between it, and I've got a bunch of slack on the vinyl here, so it's not stretching or bridging at all. And there you go, you've got one. So I'm just going to do that all the way along, keeping the vinyl loose and conformable. I'm just going to kind of tuck it in there real nice and easy. And that's as simple as that is, so you really shouldn't have too much trouble with that. Just don't be pulling and stretching on it and creating bridges in between these little lines, otherwise your vinyl will want to pull up over time. Okie dokie, so this is all pretty much cut out. So what I'm going to do now is cut really careful along this line here. I'm going to keep my blade to the very back of the line, being slow, careful not to cut into the car piece at all. A lot of control here. That's where patience really works. I'm keeping my blade against the bottom part here so it doesn't jump, but I'm not applying almost any pressure. I'm letting the blade do the work here. Now that that's cut down, this here, continue pulling it all the way down, and get rid of this excess vinyl here that's basically in the way of everything. You can see it's still black under here underneath. Take my squeegee afterwards and kind of run it up in here. Make sure that it's all good and clean. You can see some parts that we missed, so we'll go back and trim those out. But we're just folding over these edges, making sure that they're good. And so far that's looking pretty clean. We're looking good here. So be patient, take some time with it, finesse it a little bit, but so far I'm actually liking how this is turning out. This is looking pretty good, aside from this part kind of still lifting a little bit. Stop lifting, you bastard. But other than that, looking good. So flip over to the other side and do basically the same thing, just don't have these ugly wrinkles and some gross stuff in here. Okay, so this is where I'm at now. I've got both sides done as far as that goes, and then up here for the little point, as you can see, I've got it pretty well tucked there. All I did was I trimmed these little like side recess thingies out. What the fuck is this? Jesus Christ. What the hell? Real careful about that. Okay, well I thought I was done with right there, but apparently not. Okay, so like I was saying, all I did was I trimmed after this part. I left some material here and then I heated it and stretched it and hooked it around and tacked it down on the bottom here. Then after I tacked it down on the bottom, I went over it with some post heat to really lay this in here and make sure that it sticks and isn't going anywhere. I heated it a bunch right here around this cone, and none of it lifted back up, so I think we should be good with this not coming up in the future. So what we're going to do back here now is we're going to trim right along this edge, and then I think we're going to put an inlay over these little seams to make it look as clean as possible. So that's basically where we're at. Everything is looking pretty good. These little groove things here, our little keyless entries, are looking mighty fine. So all in all, this is coming out pretty good. Okay, so for my inlay on the back, all I've done here is just trace it out, just put it down, traced it out, and I'm going to cut on the inside of this little line that I drew, just so it'll fit perfectly. In theory, I hope that's how it's going to go, but I have a way of making things not work out exactly the way I want them to. There you go. Works for me. Those edges are cleaned up, everything's stuck down, nothing's... I have like a tiny little line right there, but fuck it. It is good in my eyes. Okay, we are on to here. We've broken off a fresh blade so it's nice and sharp. Now for this piece, the easiest way I found to wrap this piece is to take a piece of vinyl that is, 10 times bigger than what you actually need to cover it, because what we're going to do is basically heat it and then stretch it over it and basically shrink wrap it around it, because these fancy curves and other crazy whoop-de-doos all over this thing are gonna kill us. It's gonna make wrapping this thing very hard. So prep it with some isopropyl alcohol like we did this, make sure nothing's onto it, and let's get started. Okay, so I got a little bit ahead of myself, and this piece was giving me some trouble, so I just went ahead and wrapped it. But I've got these points here that are kind of giving me some shit, but I cut them and it's just a little too late to actually go back and stretch and fix them. I can rewrap the entire piece, but honestly this shape, this awkwardness of everything about this kind of sucks, so I don't really care too much about these points. I mean, they're minuscule and they're about to be tucked into a rubber gasket, so hopefully they won't show that much. Let's keep our fingers crossed. But basically, the way I showed you, where you tack it down to something and you pull, stretch it, you're basically pre-stretching the material and putting it around it, so when you heat it again, it shrink wraps to it. That is the best possible way. So again, you're going to tack it down to something like this, and you're going to pull it while heating it, keep pulling and pulling and pulling so you can feel it stretching, starting to conform a little bit, and then you're going to wrap your piece with that stretched material that you just, heat stretched, and then when you heat it again for post heat, basically the vinyl is going to shrink back around your shape and give you a really nice clean finish all the way around like this. And then it's up to you to make the little pieces underneath as clean and neat as possible, but it's a lot easier said than done. So let's go ahead, go back out, install these on the car, see how they look. Okay, so reinstalling on the car, you're gonna want the door to be open first. So you see deep in here this little, I don't know how well the lighting is, it is this piece. It's gonna be like a gray silvery piece. That's the part that actually opens your door. So just slide your finger in there without dropping your LED welcome lights into the door, pull it, yeah, and it'll open. Kind of hurts your fingers, but the things you do for your car, right? So first we're going to reinstall the door handle, which is the opposite of the way that we took it out. So go ahead and plug your plug back in. So you got your plug back in. Go ahead and feed this down straight in until you'll feel it kind of hook. Remember to pull back. You're gonna want to put your LED back into place, and then it's kind of weird. Sometimes you want the LED in place, sometimes you don't. It's differently for every time, but you'll see the little hooks in there where you can slide it back into place. Then you slide it back. Now you'll notice from here it's not sitting flush. That is because this piece makes it sit flush. It's not sitting flush. As soon as you push this piece into place where it needs to be, you'll see it just clicked right back into where it's supposed to sit. So now all you've got to do is screw this piece back in, get everything nice and tight, and alrighty, and that is wrapping your door handles. Looks good. Sorry earlier, like I said, about messing up on the hood. You know, it happens. Just got to keep our head up, keep trying, hit it again when the more material comes. We'll try it again. But stay tuned if you guys enjoy wrapping and you're looking at wrapping your car yourself and want to go through what it's like to actually do it yourself. Hit that subscribe button. The rest of the series is coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. But until next time, I will see you guys later.